Good evening, and welcome to the community meeting for the Mosquito Fire for Thursday, September 15th. My name is Nathan Judy, Information Officer for California Interagency Incident Command Team 5. This evening you will hear from members of our Unified Command Team and our cooperators. With us tonight we have our ASL interpreter that will be helping out. After the formal briefing, we'll be addressing questions submitted earlier online. One submitted during the chat will be answered during the chat and afterwards. The fire is currently at 67,669 acres, 20% contained, with a total of 3,873 personnel assigned to this fire. Starting us off tonight is going to be our Operations Section Chief, Dave Saldivini.
Good evening, Dave Soldivini, Operations Section Chief with Team 5. What's gone on in the last day is coming up from the middle fork down here. The work that's been done to secure the foot of the fire down here continues. A combination of tactical firing operations and good hard work from the crews getting in there to mop up and really put out the edge of the fire to secure the perimeter. And that work's continuing with the mop up all the way along the developments along Forest Hill Road, going out to Chicken Hawk Ridge and out the old carriage road and out along the Forest Hill Road out to the northeast. The firing operation that we completed the other day out to Deadwood Road, we continue to mop up, monitor that, make sure it holds. And the firing operation that was brought down the Deadwood Road to create this big buffer to keep the fire from blowing out, we're mopping that up as well to make sure that we've got a good solid anchor point up there. Taking off from up here at the edge of the fire, we're prepping the Forest Hill Road out towards the east, working several different opportunities that we found to try and bring the fire down to the south. The critical piece being down here on the north fork of the middle fork of the American River is just a nasty, rocky canyon, and the crux of the problem right now is finding a way across that's going to work. Simultaneous with this are efforts further out to the east with areas we know that we can put in line and make sure we have good line, indirect to the fire, but in anticipation of the fire moving. That continues on down kind of in the area of Robinson Flat and Duncan Peak towards French Meadows Reservoir. And then from French Meadows Reservoir, looking, we have the middle fork right here running in kind of southwest to northeast direction, finding where at the head we can come across this right around the French Meadows Dam, and then come down and use road systems that are being prepped as line in anticipation of the fire continuing moving to the east here. And also looking for opportunities in this nasty river canyon where we can come across and try and cut that off in case the fire starts to push that way, or I should say when the fire pushes that way. Those of you familiar with the area, coming down the roads in here towards Ramsey Crossing, we've had the fire start moving in this direction and hit the road in several places, 11 Pines Road. So we're actually firing along that road ahead of the fire to keep the intensity down and keep the fire on the right side of the 11 Pines Road, on the west side of 11 Pines Road. And then coming to the south from there, the indirect line that we've put in, dozers, roads that have been prepped, and out to Devil's Peak, making sure that that's all good in anticipation of the fire coming to this area, and planning for some tactical firing operations from here to the south, down into the Rubicon, and then coming across and up towards Wentworth Springs. The line that we're prepping there is going to be along the Wentworth Springs to the Sweet Pea Road, and then coming up in what we're calling Division Charlie around Stumpy Meadows. In this area, we're bringing a little fire just ahead of the main fire to create that bigger fire break in case it decides to come out of the Rubicon River. Now we get into an area that we've been working for quite a while. So we're patrolling and mopping up along here. Had some enormous success in the last 12 hours identifying line through here that we're able to call contained. So we should be seeing the percentage going up significantly in the current reports. And that's been real successful all the way to the north of Quintet, out to Volcanoville, out the Volcanoville Road, and into where we turned the corner at Buckeye Peak and started coming back down to where I started on the middle fork. And that chunk of line that was burned several days ago, we continue to mop up and make sure that's good, secure line. End of report.
Thank you, Chief. Next up is going to be our fire behavior analyst, Jonathan Pengberg.
Good evening, Jonathan Pengberg, Fire Behavior. I'm going to start off with a bit of a weather update. Still that highly persistent southwest flow, wind out of the southwest pushing to the northeast. We're expecting that to continue over the next few days, but there is a bit of change in the weather with that in mind. In advance of an upcoming trough or slightly colder and wetter system coming in, we're going to have some stronger winds. Tomorrow is a little bit similar to today, and then starting Saturday, we're going to have a stronger wind system, but increased humidities and lower temperatures. It's going to get much colder as a system comes in from the Gulf of Alaska and comes down into continental United States and really changes the system for us here. Somewhere around Saturday night to Sunday morning, we should be seeing some precipitation, some measurable wetting rains through Tuesday, possibly into Wednesday period. There's about an 80% chance of at least a quarter inch, and at this point the Weather Service is forecasting about a 50% chance of possibly greater than an inch of rain. But that is, of course, over multiple days, so it's a little bit of showers here, and then a break, and a little bit of showers again. So it's not all one large rain event. And that's a bit of a mixed blessing here. The increased winds are certainly not going to be favorable. That is going to continue to have the possibility to throw more embers in front of this fire and create spot fires, which would not be helpful. But on the other hand, of course, the moisture is a welcome relief for all of us in drought-stricken California. So how does that affect fire behavior? Well, first and foremost, before that system comes, this area in the northeast, so kind of the Deadwood and Chicken Hawk and out Forest Hill Road into the northeast, we're seeing a lot of smoke impacts where the wind is pushing the smoke over another part of the fire, and it's starting to settle that down, which is helping the firefighters with some more of their mop-up activity for those lines you heard discussed that are going to be really important for taking any steam out of it if it tries to make a run past Forest Hill Road. The smoke is coming from this area down here, though, in the Ramsey Crossing, down to Devil's Peak, and out, not quite to Stumpy Meadows, but really more of this Devil's Peak, Ramsey Crossing area. That right there is creating the greatest amount of growth on the fire. If you're looking, especially from down the hill, and you see some plumes of smoke start to rise above the general rest of the haze, that's generally these areas right here developing the most. It's growing about maybe half mile a day, and it's starting to chunk in front of itself. And I just want to address something that I mentioned before. The fuels are very, very dry. As you know, we've been in a drought, and we had a record heat wave. And so the cooler temperatures and the lighter winds are certainly helpful for not spreading the fire as fast as it had been traveling. But the difficulty of control out in the heavier fuel loading in this particular area is going to continue to create a challenge. And that's why you just heard the plan for not only one line coming down here, but multiple redundancies and secondary contingencies to make sure that we have a good opportunity to stop the fire. And then, of course, I want to address the primary concern in communities. From Quintet, the Georgetown Divide volcano area, Volcanoville, Forest Hill, Todd Valley, all of those, no movement expected. The piece that is still being burned in here next to Todd Valley Estates is going very, very well. That's been backing down the hill and has been quite a successful operation to this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. Appreciate that. With us tonight, we have from PG&E Government Affairs, Brandon Sanders.
Thanks, Nathan. Hello and good evening. My name is Brandon Sanders. I am a senior representative within the Local Government Affairs organization at Pacific Gas and Electric Company. Here this evening to provide you with an update about PG&E's efforts in support of our customers and those communities impacted by the Mosquito Fire. I'm happy to report that since the beginning of the event, PG&E has had 0 safety incidents. Our coworkers continue to work at a safe and determined pace to bring electric service back to those affected by the incident. We currently have, as of this evening, just upwards of 2,600 customers without electric service within the impacted area. The distribution of that is approximately 2,200 on the Forest Hill Divide and approximately 400 on the Georgetown Divide. Those outages have been put in place in the interest of firefighter safety and at the direction of the incident. We continue to assess damage across the system, both on the distribution and the transmission side of our operation. We were able to get some access with air resources to patrol portions of the impacted transmission lines today, and will continue to do so as conditions allow. PG&E has mobilized our vegetation management resources in areas where it is safe to do so. Our crews will be marking hazard trees with fluorescent green paint. The markings will be either F1, that is Foxtrot 1, or F2. The F1 trees pose an immediate threat to either existing or planned reconstructed overhead electrical equipment and will be worked on over the coming days as access is available based on fire conditions. We have, once again, as I shared earlier in the week, we have partnered with the Placer Community Foundation as well as the El Dorado Community Foundation as an additional measure to support our customers who have been affected. That's the end of my report. I will be around for questions if there are any. Thank you. One item I did want to go ahead and cover, it's as it relates to natural gas. We have received some questions regarding impacts to the natural gas transmission and distribution system. For those who live on the Forest Hill or Georgetown Divide, they know that we do not serve natural gas in those areas. But for others who might have an interest, there is no impact to PG&E's gas operation as a result of this event. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. Or sorry, thank you, Brandon. Appreciate that. Next up with our Placer County Sheriff's Office, Lieutenant Josh Barnhart.
Good evening. We'll start with the map again. And again, for live updates on the map, please go to our social media platforms or placersheriff.org. We had a good question today about evacuation zones, and as you can see, the zones have not changed. We did a video earlier on our social media about what affects those zones and repopulation. And the question was, what if I'm not in the fire-affected area? I think we explained that there are many issues that come with that fire-damaged area and the preparation for that. I think people get that. But we did get a question about what if I'm outside the fire zone and how quickly can we repopulate? And as we saw on Tuesday, fire conditions can change very quickly. There are known and unknown factors with how fast a fire can travel, and combined with the population of a specific zone and the resources available to evacuate that quickly. So again, we don't want to repopulate an area too quickly in case the fire does change and we would have to re-evacuate that area. That would pose a danger, obviously, to you, and it would hamper the firefighting efforts. As far as notifications, we did put a post out earlier as part of our effort to keep the community apprised. We'd like to get in touch with residents that live on the following streets or roads: Bath Road, Mosquito Ridge Road, Low Street, Chicken Hawk Road. Again, the following streets: Bath Road, Mosquito Ridge Road, Low Street, and Chicken Hawk Road. The phone number that you can call is area code 530-886-5390. And if you missed that, you can go back to an earlier post that does have that information in there. One change for today was the temporary RV trailer evacuation point located at the Auburn Regional Park Gym is now closed. However, they are accepting those at Sierra College. Again, that's 5100 Sierra College Boulevard. Thank you.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Appreciate that. Next up from El Dorado County Sheriff's Office, we have Sergeant Anthony Principe.
Thank you and good evening. Anthony Principe, Public Information Officer for the El Dorado County Sheriff's Office. I want to start off and say we have no new evac orders or warnings in the area. That also means I don't have an update on repopulation. However, after me, the Unified Incident Commander is going to be speaking specifically on fire activity in regards to repopulation, so please stand by for that. Right now, currently, people under evacuation, we have 5,400 under evacuation order and 11,500 under evacuation warning. For staffing, we have 16 EDSO personnel doing roaming patrols in the impacted area, as well as 43 mutual aid. That's 24/7 patrol in the area, traffic control points and all that to keep the area safe. During this last 24-hour operational period, we had 1 arrest for 1 person coming into the evacuation zone and resisting arrest. We have 37 structures that have been destroyed or over 50% damaged. This includes 16 single-family homes, 4 mobile homes, and 2 motorhomes. If you need to check the status on your home in the area, you can do that in 2 ways. You can do that at edcgov.us or by calling 211. To discuss repopulation really quick, when repopulation occurs, it's going to happen in waves. With these waves, areas that were impacted by fire will take longer than areas that were not. For the areas that were impacted by fire, we want to reach out to those, and we will reach out to those homeowners to give them a chance to view their homes before anybody else can get into the area. We will be contacting those homeowners personally to set up those escorts. Also, when repopulation in an area occurs, citizens will be informed by our RAVE alert system. That is set up through ready.edso.org. If you haven't already signed up for that, please do. Our county animal services is currently caring for 332 animals in 3 shelters and has room for more. If you have been evacuated and you need any help for your animals, that's feeding, watering, or if they need to be sheltered, please contact Animal Services. The phone number for them is 530-621-5795. There are 2 human shelters that are currently in operation in El Dorado County, one at Green Valley Church in Placerville and one at the Cameron Park CSD. We currently have 88 evacuees and capacity to hold more. Lastly, for financial donations, please visit the El Dorado Community Foundation at eldoradocf.org. Thank you.
Thank you, Sergeant. Appreciate that. Next up, we're going to bring up one of our Unified Incident Commanders from Cal Team 5, Carlton Joseph.
Good evening, and thank you for taking time out of your evening to join us tonight. I hope to share a few things from my perspective that hopefully help you better understand where we're coming from. Today is day 7 for Team 5's assignment here on the incident. We continue to work in unified command with our partners from CAL FIRE, and it's an outstanding relationship. We're working hand in hand really well together. We are resolute in our commitment to continue to protect life, property, the critical energy and water infrastructure, along with public lands and ecological and cultural resources in the area. We understand certainly the many of you who are affected by the fire in the local communities. Each day we continue to plan and continue to commit resources in those areas to put them into a condition where it's safe for you to return. You should be hearing a little bit more throughout the evening, most notably when some of the questions are answered in your chat room, I would suppose. I know there's a high level of interest. Just be assured that each day that we continue to focus on that. As far as the big picture with this fire, you've heard from our operations chief, fire behavior analyst, that it's quite the challenge. Our north and south lines are beginning to take shape. We continue to work hard to contain those. In the big picture, our intent is to try and pinch the top and the southern corners on this and try and work inward. As you can see from the map, there's quite a bit of open ground out there, and that ground is quite treacherous. It's extremely rough. You've got deep river canyons. You've got fuels that are extremely dry and volatile, and certainly reactive to the weather. So a lot of challenges to firefighters and firefighter safety. We look forward to continue to work with our cooperators, our partners, and we hope the best for you, and we're doing the best for you each and every day. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Carlton. Appreciate that. So that concludes the formal portion of our meeting. Next, we're going to go into questions and answers to answer some of those questions you emailed earlier online and the ones submitted in the chat. First up, we're going to bring one of our Unified Incident Commanders up from CAL FIRE, Dusty Martin.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. My name is Dusty Martin. I'm one of the Unified Incident Commanders, and we've been getting a whole lot of questions recently about repopulation, and I'm here to speak to you about the El Dorado County side. So on the 13th, we had the fire from the El Dorado County side spot across the river canyon and go over to the Placer County side, which caused a major firefight in the Forest Hill community. So over the last couple of days, our firefighters have been working really hard to establish control lines, use our contingency lines that were already in place, and strengthen those control lines over on the north side of the river. So as our operations spoke to, that's this area right down here. And as he started his speech, he talked about a firing operation that we've been working on. The firefighters out there have been working on that all day long today, and they're within about 800 feet of bringing that fire all the way down to the river. So one of our major concerns is to make sure that that fire doesn't spot back across the river drainage to the south and then make a run back up to the canyon and come back into the Georgetown area and the divide up there. So as our folks are working extremely hard to secure that perimeter there on the west end of the fire, that is our number one concern. And as you've heard from my partners here prior to me, it is one of our top concerns to get each and every one of you back into your residence. And we are having meetings daily to do that. But with that, we want to make sure it's safe and it's the best time to get you in. As you heard from our law enforcement partners prior to this, we do not want to repopulate an area that we then have to re-evacuate shortly thereafter. So as we get through through tonight and in tomorrow, and with hopes that we can get that finished up tonight and burned in and then get it really mopped up, that'll then give us that ability to really start having some really good discussions on the repopulation. Our number one goal is to make sure it's safe to do so and make sure that there's minimal threat back to the community. That is a really key piece for us through the nighttime hours to get that last 800 feet burned down to the river so we have continuous line, and then to allow that to buffer in, then to come behind it and mop it up and make sure none of the hot spots are there. I assure you, we do not take this lightly with each and every one of you being out of your homes, and we are doing everything we can to get you back into your residence, and we will do so as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate that. Next, we have a question for PG&E, so we're going to bring it back up Brandon Sanders.
Hello again. Brandon Sanders, Sierra Division Government Affairs, PG&E. We have a question from the viewership. Will PG&E be picking up the logs and debris left after the vegetation management projects conducted this past summer along Volcanoville Road? So this is a two-part answer. The first, I'll speak to work occurring prior to the wildfire. Customers have the opportunity to opt in to wood management work under a wildfire premise. So that would be wildfire wood management at pge.com. That is specifically for large diameter material remaining after a wildfire. The general practice is to chip anything that'll fit in the chipper. And the large diameter material is technically the property of the landowner, but under a wildfire situation, there may be an opportunity for PG&E to off-haul that material. If it was work done under our routine or enhanced vegetation management programs occurring prior to the fire event, I would encourage you to send an email to wildfiresafety@pge.com. We can certainly come out and chip the smaller diameter material if that was left on site. That sometimes is the case. We come through, work through a circuit area, and we may not have a chipper that day, so the crews sometimes re-enter the area to go through and do all of the chipping sometime shortly afterward. But yes, so for the wildfire wood, that would be wildfire wood management at pge.com. And you can email wildfiresafety@pge.com if you have concerns about prior work occurring on your property. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Brandon. Appreciate that. Next up, we had a question for Placer County Sheriff's Office that we're going to bring back up, Lieutenant Josh Barnhart.
A couple questions. One is, if your property is in an evacuation warning zone, not an order zone, why are you not allowed to return home and stop by a barricade? If I show you my address, why can't I go in? And you should be able to, if you're stopped at the barricade and you can show proof that you live in an evacuation warning zone, you should be allowed in. So we'll address that tonight if that's an issue for you. Another question is, what number can I call when I'm allowed to go back home? So just pay attention. There's probably not going to be a specific number. However, you can call 211 for more information if you need that. But our live map is going to be one of the best ways to figure out if you are if evacuation has been lifted. Thank you.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Appreciate it. Next up, we have some questions for the El Dorado County Sheriff, so we'll bring back up Sergeant Anthony Principe.
Thank you. I got two questions. First question, are they going to reopen or repop by zone? No, it's not going to be repopulating by zone. This is a fluid environment, so depending on fire activity, that's going to determine what areas are going to open or remain in warning or order status. So no, it won't happen specifically by zone. It may change and likely will change. Second question is a two-part. One was answered, and that was discussing that Volcanoville residents will have a chance to go in prior to anybody else and check out their damaged or destroyed homes. The second part of that is, will they need proof of residency? In essence, yes, we will work with all of our residents up there to make sure that we can get you in, but we also need to make sure that people that belong are getting in and people that don't belong are not getting in. Thank you.
Thank you, Sergeant. And we've received a few questions for our Operations Section Chief as well, so we're going to bring back up Dave Saldivini.
Hello again. Got a number of questions here about the potential for the fire getting into some different communities. The first one came in, any chance it will get to Placerville? I had a chance to talk to our fire behavior expert, and we both agreed that as close as you can get to a 0% chance is where we're at for the fire getting to Placerville. So there's a very very improbable chance, but 99.9% it will not get to Placerville. What is the likelihood the fire will reach the Cedars and Serene Lakes up near Soda Springs? Similar answer. The fire is just very, very, very unlikely to get there. Is there a conceivable way that could happen? Yes, but it's so many things would have to come into alignment for that to happen. It's not something we're going to see with the conditions we're currently expecting. And then lastly, can the fire get to Truckee, even further than Soda Springs? And again, in that the current situation we're seeing with the weather coming in, with the efficiency of the work that we're doing, it's as close to saying no as I can get and still be honest with you, because there is that completely improbable chance of something like that happening. Moving on from those questions, got a couple questions here about the rains coming in and what kind of help that's going to be to us. So it's a double-edged sword here. In front of a rain system, a low pressure coming in, you're going to see increased winds before the rains arrive. And that wind can push the fire and increase the fire behavior, just like blowing on a campfire. And so while those winds in front of it could cause some problems, the rain, if it does arrive, and this time of year, sometimes these storms, they say they're coming, and in the last 12, 24 hours, they don't show up. If that rain does arrive, that is going to help us. That is going to retard fire growth significantly, based on the most current forecast, for several days during the storm, and then for a short period afterwards. And then the last question is, are we still aiming for mid-October for 100% containment? We've been saying that October 15th is the date that we expect 100% containment, and that is still our best estimation of that. And to give an idea of the amount of work that has to go into getting to that 100%, this is approximately 21, 22 air miles north to south of fire that we still need to get line around. We need to get fire to that line, and then we need to mop that up. And that's air miles. You think of the up and down of all of these river canyons, the ins and outs of all these roads and ridges that we're going to be using to get this buttoned up. There's still an enormous workload in front of us out here before we can get to that 100% containment. But I would like to point out the hard work of the firefighters that we are doing, getting this containment here on the southern edge around these communities in Volcanoville and Quintet and up in Forest Hill and the surrounding communities there. We've gotten good containment, you know, where most of the folks are living, and we're going to just keep pushing that out to the best of our ability with hard work to get that 100% containment. If we can do it before October 15th, we have every intent of doing that. We want to get to 100% as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. That's the answers, the questions that we've received this evening. We appreciate you continuing to submit your questions online and through email. With that in mind, we are changing the email address for our meeting or for our fire. So please write this down. The new email for the fire is 2022.mosquito@firenet.gov. That's 2022.mosquito@firenet.gov. That will be reflected in our updates and on our websites. So please continue to submit those questions online or in email early so we can answer those for tomorrow night's meeting. I want to thank you for tonight. I want to thank our ASL interpreter. Cameo, thank you. Appreciate that. But again, thank you for joining us. We appreciate that. We'll see you tomorrow night.